Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Oba's Trending Gist, where we dive deep into stories that have everyone talking. Today, we are revisiting the very troubling incident involving Comfort Emmanson on an Ibom Air flight. You've likely seen the viral clip of her being forcibly removed from the plane, but now, for the first time, Comfort is speaking out and sharing her side of the story. This has sparked a massive conversation, and the team at Arise News did a fantastic job breaking it all down. We are going to watch their analysis in two parts. First, let's hear what they have to say about Comfort's state of mind and the public's reaction since the incident. So sit back and take a watch.
So in this video, she also talks about how she can't really go out in public anymore because people are recognizing her, how difficult it's been for her since her release. And we're also hearing these conversations around the economics of this, reports about how people are offering her plots of land, trips, a new phone. Dr. Abati, I'll start with you. How are you reacting to all this? Because it's really the first time that we're finally hearing from her.
Well, I think it's a good thing that she's going through the process of healing. Apparently, she was traumatized by that experience. Over the weekend, there was a report that somebody had gone to file a suit on her behalf and all that. But she said no, she did not. That person is not a lawyer. She has her own lawyer. And if she is going to take any steps, it will be a particular lawyer whom she named. Second, she said, well, she's willing to cooperate with the investigators to present properly our own side of the story. But definitely, she deserves all the support she's getting, not the ones offering land and all that, but those who have expressed concern about the violation of our fundamental human rights. And I hope that the regulatory authorities involved in this matter would be encouraged to conclude the investigations that they say they are carrying out. This shouldn't just stop at the level of drama. We would like to know what the regulatory authorities come up with at the end of the day and what the definite conclusions are, particularly with regard to the Kwamwan incident and Ms. Comfort Emmanson's case. Because initially there was a lot of drama. The Minister of Aviation took a number of decisions just to ensure that there is no confusion around the space that is leading. But there are issues that will still have to be resolved, particularly the one about training sessions for airline personnel, which the minister referred to, and then the investigation by the parties involved. Now, as for the stigmatization, well, that's very unfortunate, but I think Ms. Emmanson should not take that as some kind of major negative thing. Because, in fact, if anything, this particular incident turned her into, a hero of sorts. Well, a lot of people now saying, look, this is how these airlines behave. This is how some hostesses behave. And, I've seen a lot of people showing affection. I'm not talking about the men who are offering hotel accommodation and trips to Doha and Qatar, the objectives of which may be suspicious. But I'm talking about, genuine expression of concern. So I do not think that she has suffered any loss of face within the community. If anything, she has become a celebrity in spite of herself. There was one other thing that I read, however, that I found a bit uncomfortable. This was the father, granting an interview and saying that he too must be compensated. That is it because he's a poor man that they will expose their daughter's nudity in public and that they should not treat poor people like that and that he should be compensated because of the way they have treated his daughter. I want to believe that he was misquoted. So if he was not misquoted, please, he should just keep his peace. Allow the daughter and other people to deal with the issues. This has nothing to do with his own poverty. That's not the subject here. And we should not, drop the ball in terms of focus.
Absolutely.
It is powerful to finally hear from Comfort directly. As the Arise News team pointed out, she is clearly going through a healing process from what was undoubtedly a traumatic experience. Dr. Reuben Abati's commentary is particularly insightful here. He rightly emphasizes that this isn't just about the drama of the moment, but about the violation of her fundamental human rights. The fact that the public has rallied around her, offering support, shows a collective sense of outrage. However, it's also telling that Comfort had to publicly distance herself from lawsuits being filed on her behalf, indicating how quickly a personal trauma can become a public spectacle. This first part of the discussion really sets the stage by focusing on the human cost of this incident and the initial step towards accountability. Now, let's watch the second part of their conversation where they delve deeper into the airline's action and the broader cultural issue at play. So sit back and watch this.
I would just like to say some things. See, And I'm happy that we took our time to hear all sides of the story. Because it's so easy for people to use propaganda to deceive people in society. The airline originally did use propaganda by posting one side of the story. It's turned out. Or whoever posted, because the airline has denied that they didn't post it. But whoever posted it, which was a video taken around where the airline hostess and the airline crew had a higher level of influence and made it public, they used propaganda to deceive a lot of people. It was one side of the story they told with this. But if not for the fact that they sent her to jail and there were a lot of people that reacted, or they sent her to prison for a bit and a lot of people reacted, and we started to hear other sides of the story, then we'll not get to the end of the matter. In fact, even before she said this, several witnesses on the flight have corroborated her story by saying that when the air hostess did come to her and say, turn off, she said, what is it called? Our buttons are not working fine on the phone. And she even told the air hostess, can you help me do it? And the air hostess got rude. And after the flight, when they arrived at their destination, before they alighted, she went to the bathroom and all of this ensued. And we all saw how that air hostess stood in front of the door. So, like I said before, Ibom Air will have to put that air hostess up for investigation. I still feel to a large extent that she should sue because it was a deliberate attempt to shame her. There was no reason why their hands went to her breast in the first place, why they pulled out her inner. It was a deliberate attempt to shame her. And after doing that, disgraced her, put her breast in public, they now filmed the only part that showed where she was reacting. You cannot hit me and expect me not to react.
This is early morning tea.
I'm sorry.
Mammary glands.
Mammary glands, whatever.
Vital assets.
Whatever, vital assets. No, let's say it the way it is. Because it's very painful. You cannot hit me and expect me not to react. After they had hit her, they had provoked her within not only her assets, they even went further with her wig, because as at the time she was fighting back, her wig was already pulled off.
Right.
So they had triggered her within. The air hostess had done her job. Then she called for cover and started filming. And you pulled her down and you hurt her. So Ibom Air, I still feel this case was taken up. This is not to exonerate the fact that she also did slap the air hostess. But as at the time where the air hostess said, you are slapping me, you had instigated the fight. And you are treated her in a very appalling way. And now you are quick to say, you are slapping me, so that you look vindicated. She too must be penalized for that slap. But you can't trigger somebody without getting away with it. This is not fair.
For that slap, if she was provoked, I don't know what you say about that. Because if she was provoked and it was in self-defense, then she has a case. Because if you're slapping somebody, if somebody had done that to you and you retaliated in self-defense, that's something totally different. But I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to speak about this because I've been following, this story since it started. And of course, let me speak as someone who's impartial and also as a woman, because I know that a lot of people go through this. It's the culture of shame and humiliation. When you do something wrong, the first thing they want to do is to attack your person. First of all, she was called a prostitute, so it's a very easy insult to a lot of Nigerian women. You do something, you say you don't want to buy something from a vendor anymore, they say, Ashawo, get out. You say you don't want to do something, Ashawo. In fact, after a while, it becomes almost a compliment. So it's a culture of shame and humiliation that must end as part of our culture here in Nigeria. And then the second part is that I think we should stop comparing her and calling her Kwamtu, because the situations now that she has come out to express herself are vastly different. In one instance, he was resisting doing what was right in terms of aviation security. In this instance, she wasn't. She asked for help, and it was the high-handedness of the air hostess that brought her to this situation. So it wasn't like she was resisting. She's not Kwamtu. It was just a situation that was badly managed because of the cultural thing of older, younger, who are you to talk to me, who are you not to talk to me. I agree that there should be a customer service training for all airport staff, because it's not just Ibom Air. A lot of people who have traveled either locally or even sometimes even internationally, depending on the flight you take, want to see how we are treated. You pay money to be humiliated. That is really sad as a nation. Now, going to the fact as to whether or not her face, she saved face, or the exposure of her personal assets, on whether or not she's received a lot of compensation does not hold water. If you were me, and you give me $100 million or whatever, but you expose me in such a manner. There's no amount of compensation for that. To say that, oh, because I'm now famous. It's embarrassing. That's not the kind of fame that I want. It's embarrassing. And like she mentioned in the video that she released, it's beyond now. It's her future. The internet never forgets. Yeah. Her children will Google her name and see. Her children's friends in school will mock her children potentially for this. How do you pay money for this kind of thing? So it's a culture that must be addressed, and also a culture that must change. How do we change this systematically? How can we report this? And that is why there must be punishment for everyone involved, not just the air hostess, but every single person who was there and did nothing that was an official. The people who yanked her off the flight and carried her and manhandled her ought to be brought to book. We can see their faces in the video. And then finally, I would like to land on this point, because enough people have talked about this. Why is it that as a people, we don't know how to protect ourselves? How many others were on that flight and saw what was meted out to that woman and did nothing and just walked past? It's like the story of the Samaritan. Nigerians will just look and walk past. If you are being slapped by somebody that is wrong, why do we have that culture? So it's to sensitize people on different levels. But just to say that Ibom Air has a case to answer. I'm glad she's spoken out, and that we must find a way to change the culture of the way we see customers and how we treat ourselves as people in this nation. We're too angry, and there's a lot of lawlessness that goes by without people doing anything.
Just a footnote. The people who should be punished because you recommended the list, add to that list all the men who looked at that video twice, thrice. Some looked at it 10 times. They too must be identified.
I agree.
And punished.
Even the even the men that shared it on many WhatsApp groups.
Yes.
Everybody.
All the men that looked at it more than once, they are all guilty.
They're all guilty.
The poor girl, turn her into
Can you imagine?
No, it's
so sad.
Okay, moving on.
Rufai Oseni and Ayo Mario essay brings up such a critical point about the use of propaganda. The initial narrative was heavily shaped by a one-sided video, and as they discussed, this was a deliberate attempt to shame Comfort and control the story. The airline and the staff involved didn't just react, they instigated and escalated the situation. Ayo's perspective as a woman is essentially important, highlighting the culture of shame and humiliation that women often face. The incident has moved beyond a simple altercation. It's a case study in corporate responsibility, customer service, and the power dynamics at play in our society. The call for customer service training for all airport staff is a necessary step, but it is clear that the issue runs much deeper. This analysis really underscores the need for a thorough investigation and systematic change. I want to give you my personal take on this entire situation. Watching the Arise News team break this down has been incredibly clarifying. What stands out to me the most is the glaring abuse of power, from the moment the flight attendant escalated a simple request for help into a confrontation, to the decision to forcibly and violently remove Comfort from the plane. Every step was a demonstration of authority without accountability. Let us be very clear here. The issue was never about a phone. It was about respect, or the profound lack thereof. The airline staff behavior was not just unprofessional, it was dehumanizing. The fact that they felt empowered to physically assault a passenger, expose her, and then attempt to paint her as the aggressor through a selective edited video is a chilling reflection of a culture where the customer is often seen as an inconvenience rather than the reason for the service. Furthermore, this incident taps into a wider societal issue in Nigeria, the way we often resort to humiliation and public shaming as a form of control, particularly against women. The immediate rush to call her names online before her story was even heard is something we see time and time again. I commend Comfort for her bravery in speaking out. It takes immense courage to face your accusers and reclaim your narrative after being so publicly violated. Her willingness to cooperate with investigators is crucial, and I hope the regulatory authorities see this through a just conclusion. This shouldn't just end with a report that gathered dust on a shelf. Rather, there must be tangible consequences for Ibom Air and the staff involved. This is a moment for a real conversation about passengers' rights, corporate accountability, and the basic human decency that every passenger deserves, regardless of whether they are on ground or 30 feet in the air. We, the public, must continue to demand better. And that's all the time we have for now on Oba's Trendy Gist. This is a developing story, and we will definitely keep you updated. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the airline should be held fully responsible? Let me know your comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next deep dive. Until then, stay safe and keep the conversation going.